That's it. Finally, we is here. We've done it, Kev. Hello, welcome everybody. Thursday, the 21st of May. It's taken us 20 minutes to get on. I don't know if this will stay, but we'll say a few prayers. I'll share it to a few groups, Kev. Well, you should get a notification letting you know I've tagged you, and we are casting
Okay.
across the Facebook platform to give some massive news out that we've promoted. My sovereign brother, Bro Star, my sovereign star, Bro Star. Hey, you want to say hello and good evening? What?
Evening all. Evening all. Hello. How are we? Hope you're all alright. Little bit of an update tonight and some confirmation. More tomorrow when David and I will actually sit down and do a Zoom so you can see us both for a change rather than just having the handsome man on all the time. So I'll have to do my makeup and have a shave and everything tomorrow to make sure I'm suitably attired. But easiest place to start. Okay, the assessment procedure that we've devised and has been very successful thus far is perfectly valid. As I said on the last two casts we did read the DWP, I do recall mentioning two more questions, which are as follows. Is it mandatory? If they answer yes, then your next question is it mandatory? Where have you informed me that it is a requirement that I pass my healthcare from medical professionals to unqualified healthcare? Well, I use the word idiots because it's valid, because in that realm they are, and it's not offensive, it's not vexatious. It's a totally valid word. You don't have to use it. But, so when I first put this out, I think, I'm not sure if I'd made the call at this time. I was waiting on, I'd won my tribunal, and I eventually, 6 weeks later, when they still hadn't paid me, I phoned them up. So I put that to the guy from the DWP straight away. I said, you know what's really upset me? I said, is this latest ruling that at the court that it's not mandatory. And he said to me, yes, I know. That was his immediate words. So then I pointed out that I'm putting a claim in now because it's clear that everything they've done is illegal, malicious, etc., as it's not mandatory, blah, blah, blah. A few days after me, Graham had reason to contact and was told basically the same thing. And then we had two other people whose names I won't mention, and another friend of ours, brother, who I've been in discussions with for quite some time and helping him as much as I possibly can. He contacted me at the weekend and basically said they want a telephone assessment on Tuesday. So what do you think I should do? And I just said to him, well, this is what I would do, which is basically you've served them notice, you've asked for the questions, you've got you've conditionally accepted, they've ignored you. So stick by your guns and say, well, I'm not happy because you failed X, Y, Z. I said, and then the next question is it mandatory? Which he asked. And they came straight back with, no, not even a hesitation. No, not mandatory. Now, I hope you people out there can understand the implication of that answer, because it's never been mandatory. It isn't mandatory, which means all the actions, anybody that's been sanctioned for any reason, that is malicious. It can't be anything else. If it's not mandatory, so you don't have to do it, and they sanction you, it's malicious. It can't be anything else. Cannot be. So we've got 5 confirmations now of people asking a direct question. And at the moment, we've had basically 5 responses on the first question, so the second one's superfluous. But then I spoke to another brother today who's in a slightly different situation. It's all to do with the same thing, assessment, but he's ended up he was at judicial review, and now it's been passed up to the High Court appeal court. So he's right in the perfect jurisdiction as far as I'm concerned. And same thing, said to him today, right, so you need to write to HMCTS and go, why are we here when it's not mandatory, it's a fact? Why have I been led here? Why have you facilitated this? Ignorance of the law is no excuse, etc., etc. So as far as I can see, it's mandatory is the thing. And I think that's what we've narrowed it to. And of course, they can't lie to you. But here's what I was getting at. So the guy I was talking to today said, I put this question to him a few months ago. Is it mandatory? And he's got it in writing from them that it's mandatory. So he's got a falsehood on their paperwork, because we know now that's not the case. So very interesting developments going on. But
an admission on paper that it is mandatory to have a health assessment by an unqualified idiot. That's a big admission there. Wow, that's a liable assert. I'd like to get hold of that and work with you. Wow, yes.
Well,
geez,
that's
Louise.
the problem.
Yeah.
He will happily. I might have to redact his info, which is fine, but he will send it. I've known the bloke for a long time and speaking to him a lot. He's a really lovely bloke, and he knows what he's doing. You know, he's his own man. He's got on a lot of it on his own. He just went a slightly different route. That's why he's ended up where he is.
So may I just because others may not that have joined may not know what's going on. So it's my job just as the wingman here. You are in control. I'm your wingman. Let me just drop the anchor and stop everything and say, Kevin has been working with a man called, we'll call him G-Star, not our G-Star from the .com, but Graham, another star of the G, and we'll leave it there. And they've been developing over some years, not months, not weeks, but years, into action with critical criteria for the Deep-art-ment of Wanky Persons, we call them, weird person, and etc. That's putting it nicely, because as we've come to find about money and credits and finance and principles and principals, the principality, the credit, the source, etc., taxes, Caesar, Rome, I'm just gonna leave it there. They don't make it easy, and if you've got, like Brother James did, that come from Sheffield that I went to school with, a terminal disease, and he asked for help from us, and namely Kevin and this technique here. He got turned down and messed around, and he'd been waiting months for payments, and he was in arrears, and he was struggling to make ends meet. And we had to find technical ways and safety ways. If you are deemed to be fit for work, and you've got a bone marrow disease, and a doctor and a specialist at a hospital has said that you've got a bone marrow or bone disease and that you're going to never get better and it's not going to go away, and that you've got an impaired quality of life, we'll say less abled, not disabled. And then you go to so you've got prognosis, diagnosis from doctors and specialists and consultants and in the area of. And then you go for one of these work-based capability assessment interviews by someone who's a practitioner, not even a general practitioner and general army status practicing, but an idiot, a glorified, pencil pen pusher, ticking boxes, and we have to find ways out of these, ways of saying that you're fit for work, because they say because you've turned up and you're clean and you can breathe and you can press a button, then you can do a job. You can work in a call centre. But what Kevin came up with in G-Star, Graham, was okay, we may be able to get to work in a call centre and press a button, or in a place of business and carry a box or move a box, but if you need crutches, how do you use your crutches and carry a box? And if there's a fire, how would I get out unaided on my own, because I need help, so I can't be on my own and I need help, and there's issues of insurance. So he went quite technical and deep, and he found many and various ways of these non-medical professionals, which are glorified administrators with a pen that don't know any practically no medical knowledge, no training. I don't know what the acumen of their medical knowledge is as good as you listening now. I'm not insulting your scribes and initiates, but zero to none. If you are a doctor or something like that, I apologise. I don't expect doctors and clinical physicians and medical experts to be listening on here, but yeah, Kev, you've done a lot of great work, and you've gone very deep, very technical for a long time, and we found, and you've won a lot of arguments and mandatory reconsiderations and appeals and tribunals on behalf of others, and he's got testimonials for that. But of late, it's come about that these mandatory work-based capability assessments are not actually mandatory. So could you please explain again for the ones that have just joined and don't know, what's going on here? There's a type of a benefit that you can have and you get awarded, and that benefit is then after some months asked for you to be reassessed, and it was like a culling, wasn't it? I suppose a money-saving exercise. So there's been mans having many problems in these areas at crucial times. Some have maybe not made it and committed suicide. Some have gone on to drink. Some families have split up. There's been a lot of hardship, injury, and fuckery, basically, if I may say so. And it turns out now, what have we found out, Kev? Your 3-page analysis is now gone to 2-page to 1-page to a paragraph, and you've got evidences. He was jumping for joy when he spoke to me today. I'll yield the floor and let you now re-summarise after I've explained what benefit. Could you explain what benefit it is and what it is you can do now, please, my brother?
Yeah, basically for ESA. So there are criteria you need to meet. There's not much. Basically, are you signed off by a medical professional? Usually, people, if it's your doctor that will give you a medical certificate or an unfit for work, whatever you want to call it, certificate, because obviously consultants they don't do that menial stuff, but your doctor signs a certificate on the information he's got from your consultants. So he reads what the consultant says, and then he's the one that signed the certificate. That's it. If you're signed off work permanently, otherwise, that's all you've got to meet. Now, what they try and do is, nobody's got a problem with being assessed, right? Please understand, this isn't about getting away with anything. No. Because the people we deal with here are genuinely ill, and they're certificated ill, and I would say 95% of them are long-term.
Diseases and things, we've said diseases, and like people have come to us, they're not malingerers and stoners and so forth. They've got genuine things, diseases, afflictions that they're never going to get better from, and that is an everyday hindrance, isn't it? So, less able and diseases, not stoners and alcoholics and slackers. Yeah, go on. Well said, brother,
So, if you meet that. So anyway, part of your paperwork, it says you may be required to attend an assessment. Now, there's an important word, an assessment. Well, what sort of assessment? A mental assessment, a written assessment? What's an assessment? Now, they cleverly don't use the word medical, and that should give you a clue, because the people that are testing you have got nothing to do with medical. They are idiots. They're not even qualified. Even if they're a nurse. I was a nurse for 15 years. Okay. Can you diagnose? No. Can you prescribe? No. You're not fit for purpose. Job done.
Less qualified.
Sorry, you're not fit for purpose to do this. Because I have been assessed by people at consultant level. Now, that's the problem. This is where they have a problem. Because what we're saying to them is, we conditionally accept your offer, but it must be by the relatively qualified people. So your people have to be the same level as my consultants or above. Nobody can be qualified below the level of your consultant. But what they don't tell you is the people they're using are idiots, and I mean idiots.
And is it necessary for us to have these if we conditionally accept? Sorry to interrupt, but there's a key point here that I want to get straight to. Then what you found out is that what you have evidence of, and what we're going to get from the Home Secretary, the Health Secretary, believe you me, scribes, initiates, and listeners, we have got to the point where we're noticing the principal trustees and so forth of these offices of the UK corporate business and government here. Is it mandatory for these claimants and ones that are receiving, the beneficiaries of it, basically, of the trust then, the ill, less able ones, is it mandatory for them to have this assessment?
No.
And you've got the evidence. Expand on that then. That's the news.
Evidence.
Yeah, go on.
We've got 5 different people. We've got three confirmations direct from ATOS.
Right.
And 2 confirmations direct from the DWP. From their mouths. I'm one of the recipients, Graham's one of the recipients, and there's 3 other family members that have done the same thing. And the question is, so the conditional acceptance is good, but I'm just about to add the 2 questions to the top of it. And it is it mandatory? And the answer we've had 5 times, it would have been a lot more, but for COVID, everything's gone quiet, is no. No, it's not mandatory. So if it's not mandatory, they sanction you, that's malicious. And not only if you've got the assessment centre, because you haven't complied, you might have done the conditional acceptance, clean hands, all that, they will send a communication basically saying he's not playing or they're not playing ball, and then the DWP will cut you off. Well, that's a malicious communication, because if it's not mandatory, they've got no right to even tell the DWP. Say to DWP, he hasn't turned up.
Has it ever been mandatory? Has this assessment ever been mandatory, sir, as long as you've known? Has it ever been a mandatory thing, and has it just changed to not being mandatory, or has it always not been mandatory?
It's always been not mandatory. It's always under deception, because they do not tell you that they're sending you to idiots. Hence why so many people get shut off of the money while going to see these people. Another thing you've got to realise is these people are getting paid for getting you off.
There we go. We're getting to the crux of it now. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. I want to let you speak. I don't want to be up here to be rude, but there's a quick point here for those that may be waning. It's been a long day, and we're going to go into detail later. Yeah, we're going to detail a lot later tomorrow. Yeah, we're here. Hey, your headset? What's that, brother?
For the phone.
All right, we're all right. I'll wait for you. We're all good. Carry on, but
I'll stay.
You're breaking up, Roger. Oscar, Bravo, Sierra, Tango, Foxtrot. I think his headset may have gone, but he rang me. Kev,
what's happened here?
So you've come back. CQ, come back.
Jesus, that was weird.
You okay?
There at all. Weirdness. Right, we're back. I didn't even have you in the headphones. I don't know what happened. They're Bluetooth, so I haven't disconnected anything, but there you go.
The frequency, it's the indigo frequencies we have going off, where we interfere with technology, all of us that are on this wavelength. Go on, I'll let you speak again. Go on, brother.
Yeah, so it's never been mandatory. This is what they don't tell you.
Wow, yeah.
So what we've done is we came along with the conditional acceptance, which at first was working great, then it was working really well, and then they started getting a little bit, just they're turning your letters, your notices into complaints. That was to obfuscate what you've done and try and back you off to the side.
Yeah.
And of course, you complain, they turn it into a complaint.
Joke.
And then they come back and go, no, I'm not upholding your complaint. And I'll be going, well, I've never made a complaint. That's what they do.
They made a lot of red tape. They delayed and they went round the houses. Yeah, obfuscated, and they did indeed.
It's disgusting.
So you've seen a lot. We've heard a lot. You've had a lot of mans come in and say they've got back payments. Waiting months and months. These aren't like 5. You've already got to wait 5 weeks generally before you get in there, and after a few months, this company has come along then. So we've got several companies under the Home Office and the Health Secretary taking hundreds of thousands of, I'd say millions of pounds out of the taxpayers' purse, adding to the national debt and creating money here. And we've got a system that is making out that it's qualified nurses and healthcare professionals making decisions that aren't healthcare professionals, that aren't medically trained, that are classed as idiots. It's not, as he says, vexatious or us being in any way derogatory, defamatory or slanderous or none of that. This is true, actual, insightful information. So we've got the DWP set up, which is not the government, it's a private corporation. Yes, and then we've got these mandatory assessments coming in for healthcare and whatnot, and they're not mandatory. And well, they say you've got to go in, and they are going to assess you, and then they kick off a lot of them onto other benefits, personal independence, or from ESA. You're talking about ESA, aren't you? Is what you've been on about, yeah?
Yeah, ESA, and then obviously if you're sick enough or you're disabled in any way, you might be getting. Some people get DLA, some people are on PIP.
They got moved from DLA. They moved people from DLA onto PIP or ESA, and they started shuffling around again. So we've got the secretaries and generals of the militia moving the good men of Anglo, our Britons on the land, the Brits on the land, the grantors and the settlors and the beneficiaries have been made into scapegoats to say that you can go back to work, and they had no right to say, or no authority then, is what we've got evidences of. And this is going to affect hundreds of thousands, if not millions of folk. And going forward, folk, flock, sheep, man's beneficiaries, you, the sovereigns here that I'm speaking to, that Kev's speaking to. So you do not need to accept to go to an assessment, is what Kev has proof of, and Graham and other mans himself and others. So was there not a phone call the other day where somebody asked, you said to me today, could we recite that phone call, please? Briefly,
yeah. The basics of it, when he asked if it was mandatory.
When was the phone call? When did this phone call happen? When did this phone call happen, please?
Tuesday afternoon.
So recent, this week, yeah?
Just gone. Tuesday that's just gone.
Right, I'll shut up. Over to you. Go on, let it on.
So he's asked him about mandatory. I'm making an assumption that he's basically said what I've said, along the lines of, I'm more than happy to be assessed, but it needs to be by actual medical professionals and not by unqualified healthcare idiots. Well, then, after she'd already said, no, it's not mandatory, she then apologised to him for the fact that ATOS are idiots.
What?
She actually apologised to the words of, basically, I'm sorry, yes, we're idiots.
Amazing. I'd like to have been a fly on the wall on that conversation. So.
Oh, that would have been funny. So, but it isn't mandatory. Now, as I was just saying, I have got a fella, but this is a little while ago, and they put it on paper that it is mandatory. Now, I see Roger's in the room. Roger, great to see you, mate. And Roger's put a little message in there, which I'll basically cover the same thing. If it was mandatory, then your next question would be, okay, that's fine, and I'm more than happy to be assessed by that person, but they must show me a site of proof of their personal liability insurance in case they cause me harm, loss or injury from their unqualified decision. And of course they won't be able to give you that. So you've shut them off again. You say, well, yeah, I'm more than happy, but I need to see that first, because if they're not qualified or as qualified as my people, and they say I'm fit for work, then I want recourse. So you're just putting them in a position where they can't do anything. You're not refusing. You're quite happy to be assessed.
Yes.
But it must be correct. So you never refuse. Never, ever, ever refuse. More than happy, but I've previously been assessed by people at this level. They found me unfit for work. So if you want to assess me, I'm more than happy to come along as soon as you've got those relatively qualified consultants at the same level or above, and as soon as you've got that organised, let me know and I'll come down to your assessment. How's that? And of course, that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But that's not your concern. That's their concern. But it is a deception. They think you would, first of all, the DWP are a private company, so they're nothing to do with government. There's your first deception. So that's void ab initio from the off. everything.
Bosh. Yeah.
Then what they don't tell you is the people you're going to be assessed by, well, you might as well ask the CAP to assess you. That's the reality of it. And they also don't tell you that there are bonuses paid. Now, whether they're paid to individuals or whether they're just paid to the assessment companies, I cannot confirm or deny at this time.
Yeah.
But that would come under the Bribery Act, 2011. Don't quote me on the date.
Yeah.
Unjust enrichment.
Oh yes,
because
that's the one.
somebody unqualified has said you're fit for work, caused you problems.
So we may have, going down the line, we may have ones that have gone to these assessments and been. We'll take questions. If you've got a question, stay in the chat because we will answer. You try to give you information and answer that question. There's no legal advice here. It's a chat, and we're lawfully defending our man's rights, and how these corporations work and so forth. So. There may be ones that have been forced to go back to work that didn't need to go back to work, and there may be ones waiting for an assessment and then may have, be under the impression they have to go. So they can, the ones that are waiting for an assessment, they can conditionally accept and then ask if it's mandatory, and they should get the answer, no, it's not, and then therefore we can move on from that. There is ones that will have been on benefits that may get word of this, and it may get shared this video and information now. And if they're in employment against their better, wishes, judgment, and doctors, they can appeal because it wasn't mandatory. They go to that assessment. It was a private corporation. This is massive, everybody. What Kevin's found out and the work we've got here is for future and past. I'm going to yield and let you carry on with the unjust enrichment. And wow, cool.
So what I'm getting at here, with anybody, listen, this is where we got to go with this, or this is where I want to go with it now. Class action. Yeah. Right? So we want if you know anybody that's been sanctioned, they might be getting their money at the moment, but they were sanctioned over an assessment or the decision of assessor. If you can, get them to come to us. There's not going to be any involvement here. It's going to be one set of paperwork with lots of names on it.
Yeah, a lead claimant. Well, what we have is a lead claimant. Somebody has to go in for the lead, and then the rest, whatever happens with that lead, will be applied for search class action, and we'll do some more updates. And Roger, if you want to step in, we need to catch up and have a chat with him anyway. So this would be an ideal time for us three to get our heads together here and make that happen. Hey? Yeah,
we'll get that together with Roger. That'd be good.
Yeah.
He's a star. I love Roger. I've got to be honest, Pete, we've done a lot for my immediate family. I wouldn't send anybody anywhere else personally for debt. So if you've got any problems, Roger's your man. A very small fee, but well worth it. All your worries gone away. So I can't speak highly enough of Mr. Taylor. He's a good lad. Sorry, Roger Taylor.
Brother, RT, brother Rog. We're at ease, don't we?
I really can't. But obviously, so if it's not mandatory, logic tells you should never have had any sanctions if it's not mandatory. So if they've sanctioned you, then that's malicious. It can't be anything else, knowing that it's not mandatory. So now you've got malicious communications. You've not only got your assessing firm. My case, it was Maximus. You can go after them, and you go to the DWP and you go after them too for acting on a malicious, unqualified information that they had no right. They haven't even got the right to process your data because they do not have the qualifications to look at your medical stuff. So even the sending of your data, even your name and address only, to these agents, that's a breach of Data Protection Act and GDPR. They're not fit. They've got no legitimate reason, which is, I believe, I've lost it. I know it's recital 69. I think it might be.
We'll cover it tomorrow. We'll find it out for tomorrow. And
it's already there. It's already there, legit. This is one of the questions we use as well. Is please, stop all your processing of our data till you prove legitimate interest. Well, all these companies are doing, they just pass all this stuff on to the DWP. They hide and pretend, oh, they're the data controller. No, they're not, because you've been given the data, so you need your own data controller. The DWP are nothing. The DWP have already breached by sending it to you. But if you've been sanctioned, I don't care how long ago it is, you have recourse to go back and say, well, that was unlawful, put me in serious hardship, so how dare you? For an unqualified, so I want to speak to the person who made the decision, because they screwed me up. You acted on their unqualified words, that's you done, and then you sent malicious communications to the DWP, so that's another charge. And now we're going to speak to the DWP about what they've done wrong.
I'm seeing a slam. Go on, carry on then. Sorry.
I'm telling you, this is above and beyond anything that Graham and I envisaged this coming to. We knew we had the process right. Yes, they drag their heels, but ultimately you win. But that's what they do. It's to starve you out, the siege mentality. Oh, you're not going to do what we do, we'll just ignore you and leave you with no money. How can that be anything but malicious? Because that's what they do. By mandatory reconsideration, by anybody's mandatory reconsideration, is 15 working days. So that's 3 weeks. From the day you ask for it, 15 days. 5 months to give me a mandatory reconsideration. And in that time, 3 further notices, etc., went in about, I've got all the evidence. 5 months. Now, you tell me that's not malicious. And then it's another 6 months before I got into tribunal.
It's war. 11 months. It's like being at war. It's like being in a war to somebody. Yeah. Mental health, mental anguish, financial insecurity. Just it's a slam dunk. This is a real slam dunk for us, for the private mans, for the self-governing, not persons, but for men, women, and for Ian Duncan Smith, who got a knighthood at Christmas. Now we see why the establishment and, the monarchy will reward their Roman Caesar's Messiah and so forth there for what they've done in austerity and whatnot. QE2, we have got a massive issue here. It's her parliament, and things are changing rapidly before our very eyes. So we have got a slam dunk for our good souls here that are not criminals, they're not malingerers. They've paid they've signed up to, and they've paid to into the system, and then the system says, when you're on your arse, we'll help you out. Pay your taxes, pay your credits, pay everything like that. So we're robbing tax collectors that we are, collecting taxes for the Roman Empire. And I just want to break it up a little bit here and remind everybody, I do not forget, I've got an armory of things, and we're executors, we are the data controller for our estates and our offices and so forth here, and we are learning to control that data, and the empire of the British Commonwealth monarch, UKG, you're going to get a slam dunk back. We'll remove that knighthood, and effectively that's I can't even think of the words there, but he's been rewarded for what he's done. And then putting in, he was the same man that was putting in such things as, expenses for undercrackers and whatnot, at the same time as robbing disabled families of their income. Do you know what I mean? This is the when I say Roman Empire, Caesar's Messiah war, it's a warfare. Are we still at war? Yes, we are, but the war is going to be ended soon. I yield. I really am so angry, but I'm so happy for the simplicity, of this.
This is what I was, as usual, I've gone on a tangent, but so what I see we've managed to do is basically, slowly but surely, we funneled them down and funneled them down and funneled them down. We know the process is 100%. As I say, the only people that are going to cause delays are the department themselves. We can't do anything about that, but ultimately you will win. But they're going to be bastards. They're going to be malicious. They don't give a shit. So you are going to come across trouble. But ultimately, it's game over for them. But now we got down to, basically we come down to the mandatory, and then just those questions, they're having to give you honest answers, which is, no, it's not mandatory. Well, that's it then. Thanks very much. I don't need to speak to you again. Make sure my money's paid every week. Cheers, bye. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
So I just noticed every lady here called Karen Reid saying she's just waiting on a PIP assessment. Don't worry about it. They can't touch you, darling. And say, conditional acceptance. You're more than happy to be assessed, but not by those people, because you've already been assessed by XYZ. So I'll come and be assessed if you just bring the right people in, please. So, is it mandatory? No. Thank you. I look forward to my next payment. Bye. That's it. It's done. They're not going to like it, but I'm telling you, the big picture here, CAPITA, ATOS, and Maximus, gone, mate.
We don't need them. We don't need them. We can save the money, can't we? We can get the, the health secretary, the home secretary, and these secretaries here. We will get in touch with. We'll start helping the nation pick itself up, the landmass, and we've got grounds for claims, for damages, for injury, and also for contract, no contract, data handling, no consent, and we're not coming for agents. The agents at the DWP, you've done nothing wrong. You're just doing a job. You're our family, our friends. Like I said to the officer today when I had to go and get my crime reference number, he was very accommodating and lovely. I've got nothing but he was a police constable actually, and we love them.
Nice.
The agents, nothing to gripe there, but the Ian Duncan Smiths, the Matt Hancocks, the Jeremy Hunts, and Esther McVeighs, and people that have been in the places before, Amber Rudds and whatnot. Oh yes, and this bill that's coming through and what they're doing with the bills and legislations, we will stop that, and we will manage this. We can bring out evidences, damning evidences of malicious. And the time that you're waiting there as well, and what you've said, and you're saying there that the actions of the time delay is there shouldn't be a delay. They can, let me tell you this now for a fact, they can do what on the stock markets? They can high frequency trade trillions of pounds in minutes, in seconds. They can make millions of transactions an hour if they want to. It's called high frequency stock market financial trading. All right, they're not allowed to do it using computers and edging things, and what I've seen what they do, I've got people in the know, and it's common knowledge. So if they can high frequency and shift money, thousands of times an hour, a second, a minute, then why is it taking 5 weeks? This is where we're coming from. So don't be thinking we're just disgruntled men that think we're something we're not here. We have got all, when we make a claim, we've got all the evidences, and when they award somebody with a knighthood and a sir, it's because they've done something and they've done it well. They've followed their orders. And to the community out there, this is a banking system. Woe and betide when a country is presented as a country when it's really a bank. The United Kingdom is not a country; it's a bloody bank masquerading as a country. Yeah. I yield again.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's absolutely outrageous. I just see Holly and Chris in the room. I thought we were speaking today. I've been waiting for you. What's up with you? Anyway, you haven't missed anything well, you have missed something, but I'm going to run it by you now very quickly, because this will solve all your problems, people. I think I've mentioned this to you both before. We've had fifth confirmation from the horse's mouth, ATOS, that it's not mandatory. End of.
What is it mandatory for go on. What is it mandatory? I'll just help out there. Yeah.
So, not mandatory. So, that's it. So, if you've been sanctioned and it's not mandatory, you're in for compo. It's all malicious. Can't be anything else. So that's where we're at.
The assessment for health capability, work capability, healthcare assessment when you're on benefits is non-mandatory. It's never been mandatory, and we have evidences of that. So this is a private corporation. ATOS is not the government. The Department for Work and Pensions is not the government. They are employed by the secretaries, health secretaries and generals and etc. underneath the PM, the First Lord of the Treasury, the Prime Minister, and then the Queen underneath them. So we've got a chain of command here, and the command, you've been exposed, your agents have been exposed, the agents that work for the agents have been exposed, the infrastructure, the banking, the contract law, the data data, the GDPR. It's a dirty, horrible, bloody mess, to be fair. And Kevin has got a long experience and a lot of respect in this game. He's done a lot of work. He is a living legend. And what he's got now, he's gone from 3 pages to 2 pages to 1 pages to a simple couple of questions in a paragraph. What a living legend. Yes, mate.
It's 2 questions now, as I say. Just to let Holly know, so this is the latest confirmation was this Tuesday afternoon that's just gone, where a guy they spoke to him and said we want to do a telephone assessment, which I do believe is probably around your situation, isn't it? So they phoned and he basically said, well, look, I've already served you notice, conditional acceptance, which you've ignored, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not happy about that. I'm still waiting for the response. And then he said, is it mandatory? And immediately, no, it's not. So that's it. Game over, right? It's not mandatory. Any sanctions that have been given to you, if it's not mandatory, are malicious. So you can take that and run with it as far as you want. And if they do say, yes, it is mandatory, question 2, nice and simple. Well, if it's mandatory, where have you told me it's mandatory or asked me for my consent to hand my health care away from actual medical professionals, i.e. consultants, GPs, to unqualified healthcare idiots? And I suggest you use the words idiots. It is not vexatious. Look it up in the dictionary. It means exactly what it says.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, Holly, and Chris, on Tuesday, this friend of ours, he pointed this out. He said, I'm more than happy to be assessed, but not by, it's got to be the rightly qualified people, not by unqualified healthcare idiots. And then the phone operative proceeded to apologise for ATOS being idiots.
That's not good enough.
No, it isn't, but it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Just as a joke thing, it's brilliant. I was sober idiots. There you go.
Well,
whether it was sarcastic or not, it was perfect.
Yeah, it is. We did laugh initially, but my laughter, and it is a laughing point just briefly. But let's face it, this is not to most. That's great. It's good news, and it will get a lot in good stead. And if you get any resistance, you would come to our Facebook realm. Our free access on splspro.com Facebook. This is a sovereign star before your very eyes here tonight, Matthew. Kevin's going to be shattering the realm of the agents and the encumbrance of these usurpers in the name of austerity. And it's not good enough to say we're sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it. Sorry doesn't bring back what's happened here, the misery, the heartache, and the loss of. We are the source of the credit by being born by the waters of your mum and being crowned. They make instruments which are special purpose vehicles which they float and mess around with on Bond Street, Wall Street, and they make money, these banks again, and banking ways that they do it. So by man being here, you are the source of the credit. You are the credit. The principality of it. And we're sorry. Well, they violated our guidelines here, our morality, and self-esteem, mental health has been taken a dip for the worse. And it's this affects young, it affects old, it affects millions. Really, this is a massive issue. And sorry will not cut it. Sorry, we're coming for you. Then and I'm sorry for what's about to ensue. I'm going to yield again, but we're not going to be sorry, but I'm sorry for what we're going to get them out of jobs. We're going to make them out of offices. It's going to be, we need a national press release. Okay, if anybody has got a connection to any kind of media, we would like to release this calmly, respectfully. Yes, and we're going to notice the offices of the UKG, namely the Prime Minister, and down from the Prime Minister and his, offices of. We're already in the area of noticing affidavits, declarations, and proclamations. So another one will not hurt us. And to the companies themselves, the private businesses is what they are for these banks. It's all in house. The City of London You need to go, I'm afraid, as well, at some point, but we're not going to get boots on the ground and bloodshed. This is how we fight, all right? When I say we're at war, and this is warfare, this is dirty, non-direct usurpation. The blood that's been spilled. We've just had VE Day, granddads and grandmas, and that's, remembrance of, and flags and whatnot. Britain, oh, isn't it fine? This country, let's celebrate, since the war and commemorate, the Spitfires going overhead and all of this it's just disgusting. It really is. So in honour of the dead, true honour, this is one way that we can honour them, and we will chop them down and cut the head off the beast, off the snake here. I'm sorry to get so personal, but we all need to understand the gravitas and the seriousness, because we deal with every other day ones that are in hardship, that are upset, that are crying, that have had a shit life, that have had no money, that have had no food. So we need to recognise the seriousness of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just jump in the room? I see one of the fam in there, Sue Peters. Sue, I'd love to speak to you. I reckon I can get that turned round. Absolutely. If you've been turned down on PIP, they're not qualified to turn you down on PIP. If you've got paperwork that says you're unfit for work, and they decide you haven't, they've got a problem. And I'm just the man to help you rectify it.
Let's have a look.
So, if you'd like to have a chat at some point, contact us through contact@splspro.com, and we can have a chat sometime if you like.
That's Facebook, by the way. Facebook for free.
Facebook, all that. Yeah,
on Facebook. Search. Go on.
Yeah, you can contact us on the Facebook page, etc. But I would like to have a look at what they've said to you. Listen. That's how confident I am. We'll get you PIP without a doubt.
Yeah.
As for the pension, that's something we'll look at, but certainly something I'm not afraid of. So I'd be more than happy to give you some thoughts and anything else you may require. If that is your situation, I'm not having it. We'll go and have a little word with them and see what they've done. But I'm pretty sure we can get you sorted out. I'm confident. As I say, the time scale is out of my hands. That they will mess us about and they will drag it out. Ultimately, you will get what you're entitled to. I don't care what they've said. They weren't qualified to turn you. They weren't qualified to override whatever your doctor, consultant, whatever. As I say, if you understand, if you're under consultants, a consultant doesn't write a medical certificate. It's beneath him. That's what your GP does, and he does that on the strength of the reports from your consultant. So, because if you go to the GP, well, why did you say he was unfit for work? Well, I did it on the strength of these from the consultants. Okay? So that's all your GP's there for. He's just signing the paperwork because he's happy of what the consultants have said.
Can I say,
you have to be assessed by the right people.
There's a question. We're going to roll up for some questions here. Then keep going, Kev. One from Nita, and I would say yes to her, and I'm learning like you all are. I'm a little bit more knowledgeable than I was. Nita asked, would you ask these questions after the assessment also? So if you didn't know and you've had your assessment, I think she's saying here, and now you've heard this. Yeah.
No.
Sorry, go on.
Excuse me. It's come to my attention.
Yeah.
The person that's assessed me had no qualifications whatsoever. Yeah, I've previously been assessed, and you have my paperwork from my GP consultants. You have my medical file. This needs to be rectified. I want their name, and you've taken what they've said as well. So I'm coming after you too, because you've listened to them from their unqualified position, and they've caused me harm, loss, and injury. So yes, you can go back. Of course you can. It's fraud. There is no statute of limitations. You can go back any time and point it out. So that's what I'm saying. Even people that were on benefits, that maybe they've come off and they are working now, but if they ever got messed about and they meet the criteria, which is basically, as you signed off sick from work officially by, say, a doctor or a consultant or whatever, that's it. These people can't override. That's the deception. So, yes, of course you can retroactively go back. Listen, the guy we were dealing with on I've been speaking to him a lot. He's a really lovely bloke, so I can't say any names at the moment. Ultimately, when we get it sorted out, all will be revealed. But 10 years they have denied him. 10 years. This guy, he's got, I could be wrong here, but basically, he's not fit to do anything. I think he's had a brain injury. I could be confusing him, but I know he's in a 2 and 8, and they've denied him unlawfully for 10 years. Now, this is obviously the guy that had the assessment phone call on Tuesday. So they've now told him that it's not mandatory. So now we're going to go back and go, you've done this for 10 years. Our claim's always been valid. The paperwork's valid.
Wow.
This guy's never going to get better either. So they've helped us. They've gone, no, it's not mandatory. Right, well, we're now coming after you for the last 10 years. So on top of the fact that you own 10 years worth of PIP, DLA, whatever it was and is, plus any ESA, plus comp for their illegal actions and the harm, injury, loss, distress, harassment that he's constantly been caused over 10 years. 10 years!
I will take great pleasure in facilitating such things. You see, class action. We will, when we talk about case law, and we've been on Indiglo and Tube, and we've talked in the group there in the Trust of Case Law. Once it's made for one, it will roll open the doors. It won't involve. Once we've gone to and had successful claims rolled out for 1 or 2 cases and scenarios, the rest will just need to mention that, and it will be that case law, particular, Phillips versus or Smith versus, Wookie versus, as I'll cover it there, versus, the state and the DWP ATOS, with regards to, then you will just need to mention that, and it will be ultimately, and we'll change it for the future. We need to recognise the systems at play and how they work there. Roger's mentioned something about the DWP may have a contract with these private companies, so that's correct in a way. Yes, they do, but we haven't. Therefore, they need power of attorney from you in some respects, and we hear what you're saying. I'm not going to argue with a great man such as Roger. The homage is paid, no. But by signing and submitting, you kind of give them authority and consent, so they sidestep the legal lawful requisite of the power POA and the management of the estates and over, because you've gone in and accepted with full liabilities as the person, and you've consented and submitted, and all of these kind of predispositions of sickness of the agents of Satan. When I say these words, Satan, exactly, then they just cut us down, and it's manslaughter, much like we've seen in the past there with certain trusts coming out and apologising for failings of. I think it's an agenda here, and we're uncovering a dirty, deceptive, non-honourable thing when we could have such a simple system done in such a quick time. As I said, high frequency market trading, and even Kev has had, he's openly brought this. He's had an appeal won, a tribunal, and he had to wait months for the payment that the judge had said he should get. Yeah, and you didn't, and you had to put a bill in as well as the award, didn't you? So
yeah,
go on.
I said, right. So, cut long story short, I had a second tribunal in January, which. Piece of piss, walked it. They didn't want to know. I'm not being big-headed, but what we use against them, they can't argue. They literally go through a few motions with you to justify the fact that you're in that room, and they just go, yeah, I'm awarding it for you. They've got no other choice. Yeah. They've got no other choice. But so I asked, after the hearing, the judge actually said to, Graham was with me, and the judge said, is there any other questions you'd like to ask? So we were like lit up, do you know what I mean? And I thought, she ain't ready for this. So Graham went straight in with, what did he ask her? He said, I can't remember. She said, he basically went, I can't comment on that. Like this, but he was something, I think, to do with malicious and all to do with GDPR and that, which is the one thing. She never said a word during my hearing. I laid it all out, and the only thing she said was when I got to about GDPR and them being unqualified and them had being passed the data. That's when she came forward, she spoke up, she said, well, it's very sensitive and private personal data, isn't it? I said, well, exactly, and who's looking at it? What are their qualifications? And that was the only comment she made until the end. But say, Graham asked a question, I'm sure it was something to do with, I think it was, we were going along the lines of fraud, and she basically went, well, I can't advise on that, which is, okay, we understand, it was probably a bit of a, you weren't expecting that sort of question. But then I said to her, listen, I said, madam, last time I was here, I won the tribunal again. I said, and it was 6 or 8 weeks till they paid me. And she said, excuse me? I said, yeah, it was 6 or 8 weeks. I said, so can you tell me, I said, just for reference, when do you send this decision to them? She said, it'll be sent to them, it'll be with them today that you've won. She said it gets sent almost directly after the end of the day, if you like. They sit down and go, right, that's that one, and the DWP get them. So they get them the same day. Now, I know from experience of having my money stopped at one point because I was refusing their post because it wasn't recorded delivery, and they cut my money off, and I phoned up and basically said, what are you doing? They said, well, you keep sending all this post back. So I said, right, look at that letter on this date and that letter on this date. What does it say? And I point out their legislation about recorded delivery, and I tell them, this is my 15th request that you send it. It's in your own legislation. And, please send it to me, X, Y, Z. I said, so that's why I've been returning your post. She went, your money will be in your bank inside 45 minutes. And it was. So that shows you how quick it is to put the money back on. It's a press of a button.
It is. It's simply like, so any delay is got some issues to be explained there, and there's no excuses for that. It is private data. Myself, Kevin and Roger wouldn't be authorised to look at, say if we was to help and we do this, I speak for me and Kevin, and I assume Roger would be the same. If you help somebody and you want to get access to anything to do with their data, the sensitive data for the person now, because this is where reality and fiction merge, because there is the body of the flesh and blood, the natural flesh and blood man that has the ailments, the less, how do we put it, the less able and disease and so forth. And we can't talk or deal with you until we come to some kind of lawful agreement, a confidential and private agreement where we do things sensitively and we keep things secure and we don't share it. We have an agreement and we keep to that in honour. These agents, I'm not being vexatious or anything, but you're right there, Roger. They would need power of attorney to, we obtain not so much power of attorney, but I ask for authority to be able, because power of attorney comes with legal responsibilities and can end you up into hot water, whether you've got general, full, or lasting powers of attorney. You are then legally responsible, as Roger, Kevin and I are fully aware, which is, we've got some documentation to come on, with the last will and testament for this, because if you, for instance, let me pin everything, you got a will in effect written, and a private trust, that is, a revocable, last will, not a living, irrevocable last will, sorry, not a revocable living will, but you've got an irrevocable last will and testament, but you're not dead. Then that last will and testament doesn't come into effect because you haven't exited the realm. So to have a power of attorney in place would be an excellent idea, written into the documentation there, because then should you not be able to deal with your affairs and estate and family, then your power of attorney would come into effect, and they would be the sole ones that would be able to manage with your authority and legally be responsible. But as I, Kevin, and others are not directly related and family and so much trusted, you believe in us and you are willing to give the authority. So what I get is the authority to deal with And so would Kev, in some respects with regards to the trust that we operate and how we do in SPLs. We get authority to speak on them matters. We leave power of attorney alone. And what I'm meaning in my previous comment, so I can just get I've just seen other comments by Roger and the fam there. The power of attorney is correct, and that's not to be debated. But there is other ways around it, as I've just found, and I explained that we get authority, and you give the company and the agents authority by signing and submitting, and so you consent is what I meant earlier. So I'm not snubbing and I'm being. It's got very loud, Kev, at your end. I'm not snubbing and being argumentative. What I'm saying is that they get around not having power of attorney by having authority. And Kev, you've got very loud. Your TV is on. Kev.
Oh, is it? Sorry, mate.
Hello.
Just
Yeah.
came out as dead.
Yeah, and it's all right, brother. It's all good. And so I'm getting to the end. You submit, and you are, you now go back to what I first said. You, the natural flesh and blood man, woe man, and you have your person. They assume, the person is present. Can I have your date of birth? And you've got that on the paper. You've given it with full liabilities. You've signed with full liabilities. So to some extent, you've done nothing wrong. You're not legally trained. So really, we don't have our attorneys present. A good way out of this would be to say, look, I'm not legally trained and I am not an attorney. So, these aren't legally trained, the agents and the operatives, which is why we're not going to get them. We're going for the chief execs, the financial and the side of the Home Office, the Secretary of State, the Lords of the Treasury, the Prime Ministers, and the parliamentary lords. We need to get this publicised nationally. We need to get this information out because none of us are attorneys at law. None of us have an attorney with us. We cannot turn for our estate. So they mix the body and the flesh with the legal, and they assume, and see, man cannot be foiled. Man cannot go into a filing cabinet. Whoa, man. So what they do is they put our person there, and they believe we're all persons. But our faith tells us we're not respecters of persons. The human right articles and covenants of political, etc., they say all humans, I know what humans are, believe me, so I speak at ease, all humans are afforded the right of persons. So man, God made man, creator made man made government, government made persons. So that's how it rolls, and we've got mixed up in all of this, and it is a nasty mess. So I hope that explains some little bits of how they get around not having the power of attorney, because they get the authority, and the authority being the author of the codes, of the regulations, of the rules, which are not law, and they mix up by assumption and presumption by getting the signature. And now it's done online. It's not even a signature, it's a tick box exercise. It's getting to be a freaking joke. I yield again. I hope that kind of clarifies. Yes. And to know, lots of love to you, Roger. I'm not trying to fight, but it's technical and deep, and we can explain it, and we'll go deeper tomorrow. But just to go on a computer and give them authority and consent is just BS.
Yeah, as I say, and you're giving what they're not telling you. You see, this is where the get out comes in. It's the deception is they're not telling you that you're giving authority to idiots, which you're not bound to. You cannot be expected to hand your healthcare down from medical professionals to healthcare professional. As far as I'm concerned, Anne here, she comes in, she makes me a cup of tea, and she's a healthcare professional. That's what a healthcare professional is. None of them are qualified. They'll often tell you, oh, I've done so many years in nursing. I've been a nurse I'm a psychiatric nurse. Well, this doesn't qualify you for anything. Can you diagnose? Can you prescribe? No. Not fit for purpose. I'm sorry, I need the correctly qualified people here. You are not correctly qualified. And if you claim you are, bring forth your insurance bond right now. Because I've got a feeling you're going to cause me harm, loss and injury. I'm more than happy to be assessed. But it must be, most people think, oh, DWP government and all the people that work for the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments, oh, that sounds really important, and it looks like they're the government as well. So I must just do what they say. Yeah, excuse my French. Straight in with, who are you? Why have you got my data? You're not show me your qualifications. Who's reading it? What are their qualifications? Why have you even got my name and address?
Yeah, we can
And
act as...
obviously,
Go on.
yeah, they mess you about, they'll sanction you, but now we've got to the point, if it's not mandatory, which they are admitting, it's coming from the horse's mouth. I'm not telling you I've heard it. I've had it said direct to me, so it's Graham, so have 3 other people. It would be more people, but for this COVID nonsense. That's the only reason that I haven't got 50 people have had the same answer, because it's all slowed down. But any assessment, home, phone, everything else, they're not mandatory because they're not qualified to assess you. So that's all we're down to now, people. And I'm telling you, you just be nice and polite. I'm more than happy. Listen, I'm more than happy to be assessed. But it has to be by the right people. Is it mandatory that I go to these unqualified? They're going to have to say no. And if they do say yes, the second question, well, if it is mandatory, where is it mandatory that I hand my healthcare off to idiots? Where have I consented to that in my claim forms? And where have you asked me to submit to that? And where have you described to me that that's what I'm doing? Oh, you haven't? Why is that? Because it's illegal.
Yeah. And we are the data control. We are the data controllers for our... Kevin is a data controller for his family. I, David, am the data controller for my, estate, family, legal setup there. And Anne-Marie, Yanka, hand that over to me because they don't understand. They're not attorneys at law. They don't have attorneys or solicitors, legal counsel with them. They're not trained in that way. These agents and officers here are not trained in legal counsel, and we don't have the once you say these certain words to them, I don't have my attorney present with me at the moment. Are you legally trained? I am the data controller for my estate here, for my person, and you can't tell me I'm not. So we can help you control data. We've got some unilateral non-disclosure and fee schedules we're going to give away for free, schedule of fees, should I say, and unilateral non-disclosure to give them. We've got GDPR and we've got power of attorney for you to have alongside an irrevocable last will and testament. You can have a revocable living will that we'll teach you about. You can have an irrevocable last will and testament. And if you have anything done to you that is against your will, hear my words. So if it's against your will, now you have a will as a man, you can will things as a woman, I'll say man liberally, but you have a will, you have a free will, and you can express your will on paper. I and Kevin execute deeds. This is a deed that we're executing today. We are giving you information. You trust us, yeah? We are the settlors and grantors of that information, and we're trustees. You trust us, and we're giving it you. So we're 2 things at once, and we're executing a deed, which is a good deed, a fine deed, not a written document, and we're in a trust, and you listening and asking questions are the beneficiaries of that trust. No paperwork and no courts, and there's no deed paperwork. It's a deed done with the Holy Spirit as a witness there, and these wills that we have, wheels, the free wheel turning, the will turning, and so forth. If you have anything done to you that's against your free will or your written will, then woe betide, we will hold them to account. You can control the data for yourselves, and the government have data controllers as well that must toe the line and keep the data secure, and they must have consent for that, and they get round the official lawful ways by skullduggery and legal trickery, using different languages and forms, and going online and getting digital is just even scarier. No wonder they knighted Sir Ian Duncan Smith there that did so well for the government and saved millions, if not billions of pounds for them. So we shall not let this continue. Kevin's done a remarkable amount of work here, and it's got down to 2 questions now. So if you can't follow those 2 questions, you search on Facebook for www.splspro.com, and we've got some more free documents coming and being edited and re-edited now, so you can take them away for free. We're giving away a free last will and testament for you, and we're giving away free power of attorney information, and then we're giving away information supplementary to that, so you can give others authority like myself, Roger, Kevin, to deal with stuff on your behalf, because I don't want power of attorney for your estate, and Kevin doesn't want it because it comes with the legal positions of, but others in your family can have power of attorney that you trust, that your brothers, your sisters, your uncles and stuff like that, you give it them. You don't give it strangers, because that's dangerous. If you sign over power of attorney to anybody you do not know directly and trust implicitly, you're a fool, because they are got power over you. They can do anything they want with your estate. Now, I'm just going to say kindness credits and leave it there. Shh. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
I see Mike's in the room, Barnsley's in the room.
Oh, oi.
Mike, I don't suppose you were here at the beginning, were you? Not mandatory, mate. Game over. Game over. It's not mandatory. We've had it 5 times from the horse's mouth. The assessments are not mandatory. So anybody that's had any money stock, Mike, has got room for compensation, because any actions taken were clearly malicious, because it is not mandatory. Job done. Finished. So the conditional acceptance is good, and it still works. I will be adjusting that conditional acceptance paperwork that's in the .com this weekend to add the 2 questions to it, and there'll be the first 2 questions. The rest of it's still valid. You must still conditionally accept, keep clean hands, but yet more than happy to come along as long as you can. Is it mandatory? If it is, where have you asked me, or where have you informed me, where have I consented to hand my healthcare off, and then all the other stuff that's in there about medical qualifications, and it's all still valid, but ultimately you can do this with those 2 questions now. That is it. That is what we've got it down to. 2 questions. And as I say, Mike, 5 times now, 5 times, 5 confirmations, 2 direct from DWP and 3 from ATOS themselves, that it is not mandatory. Game over. Game over and comp over. Everybody that's ever been sanctioned is being sanctioned. That's your money back and comp over. No 2 ways about it. So I need everybody now. Anybody knows anybody that's been in that situation, is in that situation, is possibly going to be in that situation, or come and get your names down in PLS Pro. You won't have to do any input.
No.
Be a lead claimant. We already know the what we're going in under. It would just be names on a list. So we'll take you and your claim. That's all it will be with your name. We're all going under the same words, or the same charges, the same legislation, the same rules we discovered. So nobody's going to have to get technical. It's literally, if they're interested in getting involved in a class action as far as putting their name down because this shit's happened to them, that's all they've got to do. We would deal with the rest.
We have a domain away from Facebook, as you can see. Respect going out to Exposing the Matrix of Lies, and a brother called Mark Monkey Smith there shut down, disabled the group there. We in a realm where we don't own anything, we're being regulated by the rule of the corporation. This is a Fedbook, Facebook environment. I did say that, you know, when we built the .com, that this is because it's the private holds the safety, moving to the private, so you don't have to come to the private. But if this domain continues to to censorship the shipping, you've been put on a hardship already, and the censorship's coming in, so the sovereigns are going to fire back from the golden cannon from the private. We've got a lot more capability, a bit like Brian Rose and the Ike thingy that's going off at the minute, and the Sensimilia, Trustafarians. No, the sensation. What is it? Sensations. I can't even say it.
Sensation.
Yeah, they're sensationalizing the aspect, and they're not doing it honorably. They're making monies and they're making millions, well, thousands, hundreds. We don't want hundreds of thousands. We'll do it for free. But what we can do is offer you private protection as well, and the data will be collected. We have private, secure emails that don't involve Facebook and Twitter and the alphabet companies. So we built the domain effectively. Yeah, you can donate and come on, or you can stay on the free realm and take your risks. So we will operate as honourably as we can while ever we're allowed to, and we continue to offer that for free with clean hands. But we have a private domain for those that are interested, and we have a lot more detail, security, protection, encrypted databases, cloud hosting systems that are well prepared. You know, we've been there 3 years now, and we're still standing. And it's not on Dun & Bradstreet, and it's not on Companies House. I will not bow down and kiss the ring. And we're going into our 4th year this December. Into year 4, so we're not going anywhere. It's not going in the same way as getoutofdebtfree.org and any other places like that. The only way that .com will be taken is if they drag me by my short and curlies to the judiciary to do dancing with the robe. And as we've got trust technology, and the trust technology we've brought out here, it's going to be very, very hard for them to take away that which is not mine, because I am not the owner of such. I've copied and mimicked, and we've been in the game 5 years. Since 2015 November we started with the trust technology, so we're not new. We haven't found it on YouTube, and we've learnt it, and Kevin's learnt it well, and we've had testimonies and accreditation. So we're not here to trick you. We're not here to, usurp you. We're showing you who's tricking you and who's usurping you, and the agents of Satan and what they're doing to you. We're here to protect and love, and we're giving stuff away that's worth pounds and pounds. So that's all I can say. Free is great, and complimentary is even better, and it works out as a £12 donation, and you can come there or you can stay on Facebook. But we have the servers and the data backed up on the .com, not on Facebook, because we have bots and algorithms and shills and Bill Gateses and Zuckerberg's meeting. Zuckerberg and Bill Gates getting together to advise governments. Hello, I'll leave it there. Respect and love.
Which I was close by with a sniper rifle. What was I going to say? Who was it? Young Karen that was just there. Karen, you can contact us on the Facebook page or anything. If you need anything, if you want the documents that we use, as I say, I'm adjusting them this weekend. More than happy to send them out to you, so you can see how we go about it. But as I say, this is nailed down shut now.
2 sentences. Yeah, we've got the. Yeah.
We'll still use the paperwork, but there's going to be 2 new questions right at the beginning, which is game over. But I think it's still wise to do the conditional acceptance, because then you're remaining with clean hands.
You have to. Yeah, it's the only way.
Happy to do a test. But who's assessing me? And is it mandatory? And if it is, I want to, where have I consented or been asked, or in fact has it been explained to me that I'm handing my healthcare away from medical professionals? Well, it hasn't. That's it. It's game over. But at the moment, they're giving the correct answer on the first question, so the second one's superfluous. Once they tell you it's not mandatory, that's it. There's nothing else to discuss with them. They're in no position to stop the money.
Yeah, it is always your good advice. We always inform that the way to keep in honour with clean hands is to never argue and to never accept, is to always conditionally accept. If you're not sure about anything and you're not legally trained and you're not an attorney and you don't have your attorney with you, then conditionally accept until you seek legal or lawful advice, counsel, and then you would go and get the information. This is not legal advice, and we're not giving legal advice. We never give legal advice. We just inform and duly inform you and point you in the direction of and give you the testification of what we've done and how we've done it, what Kevin's done, what works and what is a remedy. So a conditional acceptance keeps you in honour and puts the burden of proof back on the claimant. If you argue it, you're going to get into some trouble. If you just go along with it, you're going to get in even bigger trouble and lose out big time and end up back somewhere where you shouldn't be. And your rights are going to be, so if you don't know what your rights are, then therefore you won't know when they've been taken away. I'll leave it there. And so to conditionally accept is to keep you in honour and puts the burden of proof and the liability back on the claimant. If you don't conditionally accept, those are the reasons for the conditional acceptance. I can't spell it out any better than that. And for those that don't know their rights, then therefore you don't know when your rights have gone, because you don't know what they are in the first place. And if you don't stand for something, then you will fall for anything. I yield.
Yeah, as I say, the conditional acceptance. Refusal, just to refuse, they'll see you as being belligerent. Gosh, there's your money gone. You will get it back. You will get it back, but the best thing is don't be belligerent.
Yeah.
Don't refuse.
Vexatious.
Just conditionally accept. Nice. Here you are. I'm more than happy to come to you. Who is it? Is it mandatory? If so, blah, blah, blah. If not, can you show me what are their medical qualifications of the person I'm going to see? I want sight of proof of the assessor's qualifications and of their private liability insurance in case their unqualified decision causes me harm, injury, or loss. They're done, because they can't produce any of them. They're lawfully required. And the deception is they're sending you to idiots, but they don't tell you that. Because obviously we all believe, up until the last few years, that the DWP and all those people that work for them are government, and they're not. So that's where so everything's void from the off because of the fraud and the deception.
We've got the
even going and shouting and screaming, "This is fraud!" They'll just cut your money off. So you just go in and go, "Okay, I conditionally accept your offer, your kind offer of assessment. Here's my conditions. Meet them. We're happy. It's all good." And of course, the ball's in their court. You're in honour. You've said, "I've got no problem being assessed. Just tell me who's assessing me." There's nowhere for them to go. But as I say, you must be prepared for them to be bastards. Which basically, if they're meant to respond in a week, they're not going to respond for 6. There's nothing we can do about that. It's a joke, but there's nothing we can do about the amount of time they'll drag this out. As I say, I was sending them notices to re-notice them about the fact they hadn't given me an MR, which should have been given in 15 days. And it took me 5 months to get the MR. And they did. That was malicious. That was malicious. They did that because they knew that they were going to get their asses kicked again. So they believed, right, well, what we'll do is then we'll starve you out. We'll starve you out to see if we can beat you that way and make you conform. Good luck with that. I'm an expert at starving.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what the mentality is. And that cannot be anything but malicious. Malicious means prizes, as in compensation. What does malicious equal? Prizes!
Recourse. We're gonna go like a boat sets course and sail. We're gonna go on get a different course. We're gonna get a recourse, and we're gonna get redress, remedy, and make some case law. Yes, this needs to be a national. We need to see a national apology, an official apology for this. To be fair, from these offices is what we're going to not demand, but we're going to require from them by forcing their hand and showing them what they've done and pointing it out. No blood, no boots on the street, but eventually. Things are going to have to change here honourably and concisely, things that these lot do not know how to do. Our ignorance to some extent and our lack, our indoctrination has led us to this point, but our forefathers and the ones that have built this great landmass did not build and defend it so we can just have it taken away and be starved to death, locked in our homes by bullshit that's coming out of their mouths. They don't even know what to do. Where's Boris been? Where's the opposition been? Keir Starmer, where the hell has he been? And where's Boris been? And what's going on here? Who's running the show at the minute? It looks to me like the banks are running this country. It's a bank that's masquerading as a country. So we're going to change that, and we're going to help you massively. It won't take all of you to do it, but we will need a list making a registrar equivalent of, when that's why I say a list. I'm choosing my words, and we get you on, and those of you on there, we will do all the work for you with a lead claimant, and move forward in the ways that we need to. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Yeah.
There's no involvement. Especially obviously a lot of people that I'm hoping a lot of people that come to this, they're obviously going to be ill. I understand that. I'm ill myself. There is minimum input. It would literally be your name and address. Possibly at some point, if it goes into the realm of legals, it might be your national insurance number. That's it. That is it. So there's no, I'll be honest, I've got hundreds of people's details, dates of birth, national insurance numbers, addresses, the whole lot, all held strictly private and confidential. If I do want to talk to somebody else about somebody's case, I come to you first and say, look, I want to speak to my friend so-and-so, and it will be somebody it's either going to be David or it'll be Graham. And I would tell you who it is and what's going to be discussed, but no unnecessary details are exchanged. Not that I would be concerned with either of those two entities having any of the details, but it is strictly private and confidential. We're not here to cause harm. We're not here to cause distress to ATOS, MAXIMUS and CAPITA. But it appears they want us to do that, so I think I'm going to have to facilitate it.
Yeah, well, when we see that there's suicides and there's another ship coming to play there, hardship, with the censorship, we've got the hardship coming into play, friendship, partnership, all of these ships that we've said, authorship, we get the authority, we operate on trust, we pioneer trust, and we've got technology to keep that stuff private. We've got databases on the .com that I manage as a trustee, principal trustee on that .com, and we have technology, encryption, cloud, Department of Defence, Cloudflare, algorithms. It's not a problem for us to manage a few names, addresses, and whatever we need to at the time. But for the time being, we just need a name and for you to email. So on the .com, the private .com, you go to the homepage of splspro.com and you put into the front homepage for free. You don't need to give us any money, a donation or anything. You just go to www.splspro.com and you sign up there for a newsletter, or you enter your details, which is an email. There's a box there that Greg's put on specially for this to collect all of you that are willing and consenting. By doing this, you consent for us to contact and hold an email number, and you email us, and you will get one back from me. I've just gone through 150 emails in 2 days, and I've answered every single one just about. Well, there's probably 1% left to do. 9 emails out of 165. So there you go. That's how well I work in a day. I'm a man of honour. I can't answer you all at once. I've seen a comment from Roy there. Grayson family, you look at the automated system of lost password, the same for any website. It's the same technology, and you manage your own lost password. If you have problems logging on and you still cannot log on, like Sister Molly did, and on Tube when she said, you go to the bottom of the homepage and it's got a contact us button. You simply go to that and you contact us. You don't put that in the middle of the homepage and the information there. There's another one for existing, we call you supporters, not members, because that's a membership, you see, and that's another ship that we don't like. So you're a supporter, a self-initiate of law, a sovereign, etc., and a master of the guild now. And you would go to the bottom and it says contact us, Roy, and you contact us and I will get back to you within 48 hours as I'm catching up with my emails again. And those of you that want to come and say hello, you'd use the homepage middle and you put your details in for the newsletter, and then you'd get contacted from me, and we put you onto the annual email list, and I'll get in touch with you accordingly. So if you use the contact us at the bottom, you get a fresh email open up, and you can write a bigger email as well. So you can use them both if you're new. If you're an existing supporter, you use the bottom contact us, and if you can't reset your password yourself, and that takes a bit more time for me to do, you have to go through security and answer some questions there, so I can get you to identify certain things about accounts and You see, I'm trusted. I have to do it properly. I'm governed under law, so we operate like that. So I'll leave it there. I'd like to wrap it up because it's been a long day. I've been to see the officers.
Just make one quick.
No, we're not going, but just wrapping it up soon, yeah, if we can. Yeah, thank you.
Just put a very important point in there, and that is that these agents, DDoP agents, they're bearing false witness. They're bearing false witness against you by saying you're fit for work, etc., the assessment. He's absolutely right. That's exactly what they're doing. It's disgusting. So there's more clout there, especially if you're KJV inclined.
Could you, for the ones that don't understand that, could you elaborate on that for them then? Because that's easy for us to say and get into. But when you say they're bearing false witness, does everybody understand what that means? Go on. Yeah.
Basically, you've been assessed and found to be unfit for work by medical professionals. You then go along to see these people because you're of the belief that your government wouldn't fuck you around and actually they would use the right people. Then these people are saying, no, we find them fit for work. And in fact, they're even overwriting some of the stuff you've told them. So they're completely changing. False witness.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing we found.
If they're finding you fit for work from an unqualified position, that's false. It's bearing false witness. They've made an absolute lie. They are not qualified to make that decision, which is another thing I was just about to say to Mick, Mr. Barnes. Mick, you know that VP? I think the question to ask is, what was the qualifications of the person that made that determination? Because I bet they're not qualified. You have to be qualified to make that sort of statement. So I think that might be an interesting question to do there for you, Mick, is write to them and say, who put that on? What are their qualifications, their psychiatric, to determine that? Because if they haven't got any qualifications, that's a false statement against you as well, mate. Now, I know we've been here for a while, but that's just come into my head. Well, hang on a minute. Whoever made that statement, they'd have to be qualified to make that statement, to assess you as being like they say. So, what are their qualifications? That's what I'm thinking.
It's much like, yes, we've heard before, we've got evidences where they've given, we've got to just generalise here and speak non-specifically, but we've heard that answers have been given, and then I've got instances and recordings and interactions with, you see, we are very honourable and keep everything private. You've seen how we operate. We're not doctors. How we execute our deeds, and we do it with under the Creator with the most, conscionable actions that we can. And we've got historical interactions and proofs of claim that things have been recorded here. And then when the data has come and the report, it's nothing like what's on the recording. And we're like, hang on a minute then, so let's listen to that again. And now show me that paperwork. And, we've got the paperwork shown, and it's been different answers officially to what's been on the recording. So, we're not just here to, again, if you want to question how we know this, because others have come to us and give us, Kevin and I, in the private, different times, different things, and we've got together, we've had consent, and we've said, are you finding what we're for? I'm feeling sick, if this is, and it is the way, and there's only one reason that somebody would bear false witness. This is fraud, to be fair. This is actual crimes against man. It's a crime to do this. And why would they do this? What incentive would a medical healthcare professional have that is not a doctor to change the answers given? What's their incentive, we ask ourselves, and at the bottom line, isn't it, Kev? Yeah.
Oh, 30 pieces of silver springs to mind.
Is it because you can't make that many mistakes in one assessment when somebody sat there crying, actually crying, upset, embarrassed. They don't want their best friend. They haven't even told their best friends half of what's wrong with them. So to sit there in front of a stranger, drag themselves out, and they haven't had a wash or a bath or anything for a week or so. You know, these are the things we get told, and they've made the effort to have a wash. Let me tell you this, because this will make you sick. They have a wash, they get bathed, and they because they're at home and they live on their own and they're depressed and suicidal. They tell us they sit in their own, time. Somewhat mess is what it is, and this is the way that we find people. Man is at the minute they are broken, they are not strong, they are not feeling loved, they are not feeling respected. They have given up. They are at the bottom. All right, these are the people that we meet regular, that cry to us when they talk to us. Grown men, grown women, all right, singular, depressed, suicidal, alcoholics, self-medicating, smoke, a mixture of and all of the above sometimes, which is really, it breaks our heart. So they then make the effort to get dressed, do the hair, put clothes on, good clean clothes, not sit there naked, put clean clothes on. I didn't know I'd go this far, but let's do it. And then they get there, and they've got there, and they've presented, and they're putting on a brave face, and because they've been honourable and they've made an effort, the assessor goes, "You're all right, I can't see anything wrong with you." And they're like, "Dave, I can't believe it, because I should have not gone. I was only trying to do the right thing." Kev, over to you, brother.
Yeah. Exactly what's happening. You go in there, listen, I've got people, I've got a couple of people. Look at one of our original clients, fucking bedridden.
Yeah.
Actually bedridden. Right, we're stopping all your money. What? I mean,
and that's because.
And as for medical evidence, we've seen it all. I mean, this guy's not well. James, it's ridiculous. That's where we've got to get recourse. This is why we've got to go back now and go, look, I don't give a shit that she said it. You employed her. We're coming after you. The big man. Your employees. We're coming to get you, you bastards. I see Roy just put in. Got another next week. What? Telephone interview. If you've been listening, you haven't got anything to sort, mate. It's not mandatory. It's not mandatory for you to give any healthcare details to an idiot. They're not qualified. It is not mandatory, mate. We've had it from the DWP. We've had it from ATOS, from their own mouths. Not mandatory.
Yeah, if you rewind.
Ask them the question, Roy. Is it mandatory? And the last 5 people that have done it, no, not mandatory. And I sit there, job done, make sure you keep paying my money, goodbye. Be more than happy to be assessed when you have the correctly qualified people to assess me. Please let me know and I will attend forthwith. Thank you, bye. Job done.
In about 18 hours, which will be 3 p.m. tomorrow roughly, I'm not going to hold us to a particular time. We're always fashionably late, as you know, and we had 25 minutes before it would let me broadcast. I had to get 3 different handsets out, put on a VPN and do all sorts to get this cast going now. So we were ready at 10 to 8, believe it or not. We got to get to cast just after 8:30. So we're going to say that we're going to have a private chat tomorrow, Kevin and I, on an offline chat. We're going to record it, and then we're going to upload it to the Facebook group, the free one. So don't worry, you all are invited. Bring your family, bring your friends. Tell the ones that would need to hear this and to chat with us that they can. And in 18 hours, because it's now, 10 past 10-ish, 10:15 p.m, at 3 p.m. tomorrow, being Friday, we will then have done the chat, or we'll be doing the chat, and we'll upload it and then have a watch party tomorrow, mid to late afternoon, yeah, Kev? Something like that? Is that acceptable?
That's absolutely fine. I'm cool with that.
And we'll do it again,
Yeah. If you've got anybody, send them to the Facebook page if they want to come and have a look. If you know anybody, speak to them, see if they're interested. Just got to put the names forward. We'll deal with the rest of it. If you've got anybody with some issues, send them to us. We've got the answers. And we've this is 4 years of work initially from Graham and I. We used ourselves as guinea pigs. We were the initial people that went with the process. We refined it. And this is where we are now. We're at the evolution of it now is really keep with the conditional acceptance, put the first two questions that I'm going to now put on the condition. That's it, it's job done. So the rest of it is superfluous. The conditional acceptance is correct. It still carries clout, but we know it's down to these two questions now. And at the moment, the procedure is, or the result is, you're asking the first question, you're getting the right answer. There's no need for the second. It's only if they tell you that yes, it is mandatory that you would use the second, and the second kills them. So it's done. This people, I hope you can realise, this is game over for them, for the assessment people, because it's not mandatory. We need to get this out everywhere to anybody who's sick, getting ESA, PIC, DLA, whatever. We got no problem being assessed, but it must be done correctly by the correctly qualified people. We can shut this shit show down for good. They will not have any business. It's illegal. It's fraud. People are killing themselves through these illegal decisions. People are making themselves ill over the worry, stress, harassment, bullshit. They'll never get that health back.
No.
All that worry, they'll never get that back. I don't care what you say. They might get their money back and everything will be sweet, but they'll never get the damage they've done to themselves, not through their own fault, but through what's been done to them. You'll never repair that. What's that worth? What's that worth in compensation if it can never be replaced? This is Oversville. This is game over. People must understand. This is game over.
We don't need them if they're not mandatory. We could manage this ourselves, and we'll get moving. But tiny steps first. We'll get the ones in the know that need to be in the know. We'll get the documents done, and we'll get them uploaded to the domain, and you can share them and give them out. You can come and find us.
I've done this weekend. I've just got to adjust some numbering and put two questions in. It won't take long, and then I'll re-upload those. And if anybody needs them and hasn't got access, contact us through FB. More than happy to release you the paperwork as it is, and we have 100% success rate. 100%.
Bosh. Yes, you do.
Two people that we gave the process to, this is quite a while ago now, and basically there was some sort of problem, but when I asked these people to show me what they'd done with the paperwork, they said neither of them weren't forthcoming. So I don't know what they did wrong, but there's a few mistakes I've seen. People use the paperwork without realising that there's areas that they have to change. So they've sent paperwork off saying that their name's Mr. Joe Gloggs, stuff like that. So, but so the only two people I don't know 100%, they wouldn't. I asked them, well, show me what you've done, and we can correct it, but they never did. So whether they actually went along with the process, or I'm not 100% sure, but everybody else that we've put through this has got their money. And have let us basically say we've moved you up to support group, and they've got back pay, and they've got everything, and they've been told there'll be no further face-to-face assessments, blah, 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 blah. But say, now we're at the point where is it mandatory?
You said there was a bloke, just before we go, you said there was somebody, I remember the conversation from this afternoon, we've had a lot, I know, but there was the High Court appeal or a court appeal, and they shouldn't even be there, yeah? Right. That's a farce, innit? Look at the money they're using here, just encapsulate that, there's mans that have gone farther than they should.
They're dragging it out. All the barristers and the solicitors and all that are loving it. The longer it goes on, the more moolah they get. Simple as that. And they purposefully dragged this shit out, but they basically, the guy did he did it off his own back. He really is an intelligent, he knows what he's doing, but he went down a slightly different road than the conditional acceptance, I think. But anyway, what he's ended up doing is he's ended up engaging with the DWP's legal team, right? And they've forced it into judicial review, which he's been waiting forever. But now it's gone up again. It's actually in the High Court, Appeal Court, High Court.
What?
So that's where they forced him. But obviously with this new information, he should be able to go to them and go, it's come to my attention that this is not even mandatory. How has HMCTS allowed this process to go along with that being that?
Yes, what the...
And dragged me through all this shit when ignorance of the law is no excuse and it's not mandatory. How have you dragged it? How have you done it? How much money have you squeezed?
It's a joke.
And just dragging this shit out when actually you know it's not even mandatory. So now you've got HMCTS on your compo. Now you've got the agents. Now you've got the DWP. And it will all... Ignorance of the law is no excuse, so any actions would be seen as malicious. Got to be malicious. If they don't understand the law, it's still malicious. And if they don't understand the law, what are they doing with HMCTS? They're obviously in the wrong job. That's how I see it. So I think everything's going to come down. It is malicious because you know what you're doing is unlawful, fraudulent, deceptive. So it can't be anything but malicious, which means you've been harmed, you've had loss, injury, distress, harm, compensation of considerable. I would be saying, as I say, my last letter to them, I gave them an opportunity to settle because when all this became clear, I said, well, in 2016, you stopped my money for, I can't remember what it was, it's about 160 days or something, and then one I've just won was 320 odd days. It was a month off of being a year. So I've gone, well, if it wasn't mandatory, you're not the cure. So I've sent him an invoice for just shy of 50 grand, £100 a day for every day they sanction me unlawfully. And then I said, if you want to settle this now, that's brilliant. If you want it to go to court, I've got no problem with that either. But please be aware there's another £13,000 going on top of this for recovery fees, etc. So that's where we're at. I also asked them for full forensic accounting of my claim from start to present day. And now, bearing in mind I've been in correspondence with these people for like 4 or 5 years, so they wrote to me and said, can you prove who you are? You want some ID? I went, you are fucking winding me up, aren't you? Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but that's what you're dealing with. Oh, Mr. Phillips, we've been biting you, you've kicked our ass, you've helped loads of other people. Can you prove who you are?
It's just, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know their own rules, and like where you've just said there, ignorance of the law is no excuse. That's not for us, that's for them. They're their rules, their systems, their policy, their corporations, their officers. And yes, why are HMCTS allowing it? It is just a farce. So I did see a post from brother Rog there saying perhaps Boris should go on the Masters Guild there and learn some bloody rules and law. That did make me chuckle, brother, and we need to catch up and have a chat with him, and anything we can do as a fam, as a team, and take from one another and give, we're willing to. We're not experts in all lawful matters or anything. We are just humble idiots ourselves that have got some knowledge and some capability. So we say to everybody in the room, I'd like to say to Roger, to Fatboy, to Michael, to Holly there, to Roy. Roy, I like that comment about being eccentric and stuff. That's the sign of an indigo crystal light worker, one that does not take shit and lie down. You question stuff. Who else have we got in the room? You, Kev. I'd like to say to our own sovereign star, brother Kev. Lisa and James, I think, was there. Sister Nita, Ephesians comment, just ultimately comment of the year to Sister Nita. I think there was a Wendy, I can't see now. Karen, did I remember as well? Naomi was in there at some point. Somebody called Chris.
Yeah,
I've seen.
Naomi.
Yeah, you see, and Nick was there. Anybody that's been on, Lindsay, I think, was there as well, and Stuart, Scott Hazard, I think it was, and Sue, all of you on the replay. We'll see you soon, Button Moon, and much love to to mans like Roger and to Kevin and to myself for facilitating, and I'm learning much. Bosh, well done all. We're smashing it. We really are, in a good way.
Well, this is to a whole new level. As I say, just to end my part, we never envisaged this going this far. This was something we never even considered it. But this is a whole different level. This is game changing. I mean, the process was game changing, and it works. Yeah. This is something else. This is another level, and this proves the malicious intent and everything. This is massive, people. This could ultimately shut that shit show down for good.
DWP, goodbye.
Yeah, all over. Big claims. That is how big it is. I'm not even bullshitting you. I'm not. I'm amazed myself at what's transpired. And if you think about the implications, this can go nowhere else. It's clearly malicious, and they can't argue the toss. We've got this. If you took this to court on what we've got, they might wait right to the last minute. But I'm telling you, if you force them in there, I guarantee you, I don't give a shit who they've got as barrister. No contest.
Attorney.
It's no contest.
Yeah.
That's how they'll have to go. Sorry, no contest. Thank you. Just write the checks now then, thanks. It's no contest. All unrebuttable. Fact. Job done. No denying. Deception, fraud. We've got it all. And it would be a no contest. So there you have it from me, people. Nice one, Mike. Appreciate that comment, mate.
That's it.
Roger, brilliant to have you in the room tonight, mate. Sue and Karen, I want to say if you want to go back over this, you know where we are. Don't be shy. We don't cost nothing. We're more than happy to help. So if you have any issues, even questions, just come and find us.
Well,
not a problem.
Yeah, we are very busy, and we've got a lot of documents and a lot of stuff to go through, processes, instruments, declarations, proclamations, wills, power of attorneys, and this coming up, home castle defence. So we can share with Roger in his group and give him files to share with as well. We will outlay things that are universally able for you to use. So there is a question and answers. What we'll do, and then we'll collate the most frequently asked questions, and we'll give you the most frequently asked questions and answers, so you can look at that, and then you can post a comment in or a thread into the forums that we have on the private or in the public here on the Facebook Trust group, family, SPLs, and then we'll make this common knowledge. It's not to be coveted, it's not to be sold, it's not to be profited on, but we are going to want to go big time to the top. We're going to want a national apology, a landmass apology, and these agencies are going to have to be looked at, and such as the Ian Duncan Smiths and the knighthoods and so forth, and whatever rewards they get. You can now see why they've been rewarded and why it's just a war. Warfare benefits, entitlements, and what you are benefiting from. It's not a benefit anymore. It's a noose around your neck and a ticking clock. So your honourable, loving family members that we respect and love, and we give you that without a second thought. But these agents and the offices and the way that they work do not give you love and respect, and it's almost like they're giving you money out of their own pocket. So you do something, you've earned it, your forefathers have earned it, you've paid into the system through your sweat equity, you're the principality of the source of credit, and that's enough. And what we've come to learn about the bankruptcy, the insolvency, the Chapter 11, money, illegal tender, legal currency, and austerity, it's all a farce. So together, that's what I mean, Roger. We can really knuckle down now, as well as what Kevin said and what you've seen us do and where we're at with the even the Clearfield Trust, bringing out the Clearfield Doctrine and instruments and fraud and deception and crimes. Let's go for it. Let's go for it big time. It's not an ego thing. It's not a Dave and Kev thing. This is a family ting, and it's a Trustafarian. Rasta Boris, we're coming for you. Get to work, at least, on this.
How many pair shoe we have? One pair shoe.
It's going to be a level 10, let me tell you. When it's all number 1 and green, it's going to be Chris. If you haven't seen Rasta Boris, where have you been?
No, that's brutality will still be around.
Let's end on a high. Hello to Flatboy. I think
That's brilliant.
Sandra's in the house. I believe you did something good for Sandra. We'll keep the privacy there, but there's another testification that can come
Yeah, that was
through.
just a little thing.
I just seen a
Nothing.
Pomeranian head pop in there.
Oh, that was just a straightforward. I think it was. I always often get confused. Just a polite inquiry, because they seemed to be ignoring, or should we say, quietly forgotten about what was going on, and shit got sorted. So that's all it was. It was no drama, just a polite letter, one letter. And next thing I knew, I think it was about 3 months. I was contacted and I've just got some money deposited. Fucking there you go, job done, thank you. That's it. Everybody's happy. So that, it's no dramas. Say sometimes it's about being polite. Sometimes it's about putting the boots, braces, and the machine gun on and kicking the door off the hinges.
No. So, yeah, we've answered the questions that we've had.
Graham, Graham's all there in the background. He knows, but he is integral. I say it was Graham and I that we're both in the situation. We were both subject to all of this. Information started coming to light, so we had to think about it with all the process that we've been talking about, conditional acceptance, and we threw ourselves under the bus first.
Yeah.
And then once we knew that it worked, then we started offering it out to other people. But all the time, it's been evolving. Not sure if anybody's ever sent an identical notice. They've all had the same stuff in, but they've probably had a little bit more here or tweaked something there. But as I say, now we've got to the point where more than happy. Is it mandatory? No. Okay then. Well, I decline to be assessed by idiot, but I'm more than happy to be assessed by the relevantly qualified people, as long as they're the same level or above the people that have already assessed me. I'm really more than happy to come along. That's it, mate. Job done. Everybody, you're not refusing. You're asking for what you're lawfully entitled to, and of course they don't want to facilitate that because it would cut into profits on a massive scale.
Yeah.
And they just rely on people just going, oh, well, they're the government and what they said must be true, and if they stop my money, it's because I haven't done it. No. All deceit.
Yeah, so it's going to an offshore foreign sitters trust that's owned by their friends. This is what's happening. Tony Blair being in the prime ministerial position and leaving that place with millions more than he had. He was a trust lawyer, I believe, equity lawyer, trust and equity specialist there, and there's lots of politics. I could bring up the Bank of BCCI and the Cayman Islands, the Panama Papers. We're shutting down, but tomorrow we're going to have more of this. If you've enjoyed it, we'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Get your friends, share this, embed it, download it, take it wherever you want. You'll have our permission.
Give it to everybody. Yeah, put it anywhere, anybody you think it'll be any good, and point them in our direction. Say, nobody's getting anything out of this. It's never been about us getting weighed off for any of this. People are sick and ill. I'm certainly not going to come along. Just before we finish, I just do want to mention that we're not here. This is not about us making money. This is about doing what is right for everybody and getting them the right services. On that note...
Oh, I know what you're going to say about that group. Go on.
There's a group, Benefit Resolutions, which I keep my eye in there. Now, this guy appears to me to be... He might even be a brief or ex-brief. But one of the bits of news... the ruling on the non-mandatory, right? I put the post up. Still got the post somewhere. This is an actual ruling, the non-mandatory. This is where I found it. That this guy puts the same post up. That he's doing 20% or 25% of everything he recovers for people.
And he is getting them to go along with the process, and then obviously when it all goes tits, he's fighting at tribunal and blah, 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 but he's taking 20-25%. But he put the same post up. Now, either he's an idiot and he doesn't realise what it said, or he's purposefully ignoring it because he knows that's all his work out the window. For anybody that's giving, here's my argument, anybody that's giving anybody any money for help with tribunal and that needs to stop, cancel the agreement, and come and speak to us, and we'll give you 2 questions.
Yeah.
Give them to you.
Yeah.
And the job's done.
It's in this
So
video.
anybody earning money is wrong. That guy in benefit resolutions, as far as I'm concerned, is complicit in fraud because he's advising people to go along. He's complicit. So anybody that's given him any money, you should go back to him now. Go, I'm coming after you for my money back. Because it wasn't ever mandatory.
God.
And you pushed me through the process that I didn't need to go through and took 25% off me. You were complicit in the fraud.
Of somebody who's sick, weak and vulnerable, that's in a dark place, of all things.
No, I've been watching him in there. In fact, one day I was looking through the page of this thing and it said, "Oh, can I help you, Kevin?" I thought, "No, not at all, mate. I could help you." But I just don't get it. So he put the post up, which shows the ruling that it's not mandatory, and then he carries on saying, and then he starts moaning that somebody didn't pay him. I thought, good on you. Knock him for his money. It's wrong. If you're telling people to go along this process, go to tribunal, and you're complicit. You're complicit. So I would suggest, if anybody wants to come and speak to me, we can get your money back.
And we'll see you, we'll have a session tomorrow, and then we'll get some documentation put up to both the free Facebook domain and the private domain, and then we've got dedicated forums on the .com, and we've got the interaction with the members and fam there. And Kevin throughout the week, he manages and runs primarily in the Facebook domain there as long as it remains standing. So credit and kudos to us all. I really need to crack on, and I'm going to pass out soon. It's been a long day and not much sleep last night. So we've done well.
Yeah.
We've done well, everyone. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, Roy, none of us claim the person, mate. We make it very clear what our person is and who we are in relation to it. All our documents do that.
Yeah.
So nobody claims the name. Even if you do claim the name, you're still being deceived. So all the joinder and that's bullshit. So, it's still down to deception and fraud. Ultimately. But no, none of us say even people that don't quite grasp it, we get them to sign off. But I've said to people that don't understand what we do, just sign it as you would normally. Be the person. It don't matter. It doesn't matter with a DWP. Be the person. We've still got them shafted. It's still fraud. It's still deception. It's still malicious. Doesn't matter what you call yourself or who you stand to be in that case. But our point is we have 1 foot on the land and 1 foot in the water. So our person uses legal and our man law.
I only said to blow.
That's how we do it.
I only said to blow the bloody doors off, Phillips.
Yeah.
Yes, I will teach. About them all that later. Yeah, it's a faith thing, a matter of faith. Yeah, persons and respect of, and legal liabilities, legal persons, natural persons. This is natural flesh and blood man. You're on the right lines, Roy. For others, there's documents there on my profile for you to download for free now. The Sovereign Masters Guild Foundation Pack. So thank you all for your participation. The documents and work and publications and knowledge is there for free, and we don't profit on it. We've given it away for free. It's in the trust and the SPL's Facebook. It's on my profile. I've reshared it today, and I'm looking forward to the chat with my brother of Keith of the Little Fam sometime tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to cancel that to do this with you, and then we'll get Keith on later.
Hello?
Hey?
He's in knowledge, that guy.
Exactly.
More so American, but he knows his stuff, Mr. Little does. I can't take anything away from the fella. He is so in deep with, really in depth with it.
We'll spread it all. We'll share it and spread it. Yes, and
He's a good man.
we'll compare. So let's say good night and God bless, eh?
Yeah, no worries. You know where we are, people. Come and get saved from the parasites. The Department of Wanky Parasites. Love you all. Thanks for joining us. A few new faces. Thanks for popping in. Let your friends know where we are, so they can come and watch it and take it, share it. Please get out there, because this is game over. And anybody you know that's been, see if they're interested. It's just going to be a name and address. Not even address at the moment. Let's just get the names down. We need X amount of names. We're going to go and find out exactly what we need. And let's go for class action, because this is done. This is done and dusted. This is no contest.
Yeah, so many names. You get so many names, and you can get them to chat about it in Parliament. So they can go to the homepage and on splsproda.com and give us your email there. And you can use the contact us at the bottom to contact us and give us a bigger email. You put the email in to get a newsletter on the homepage of splspro.com in the domain, the private, and you go to the bottom of the homepage and use the contact us, or you can join up. It's up to you. And we've got Facebook as well. So we've had a half-hour long goodbye, and we're getting off now. Yeah, 2 hours and a bit doing this. Still got it, Kev.
Yeah, that's all cool. Much love to everybody. Thanks for coming in. I know there's a few people picked up some bits tonight. Don't be scared to come and speak to us if you need any more clarification, or, you know, if you've got any issues, come and speak to us. We'll get you sorted. Promise.
Top one, nice one.
To you all.
Get sorted. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, well done. You are an original super sovereign star, living legend. Kevin, what you talking about? Phillips. Thank you. Respect.
Nice one, Dave. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Let's finish.
Dave's just important in this journey, and the sovereigns. I mean, as I said before, we were watching and taking note of what sovereigns were doing, what Sovs were doing, but at the time we were knee deep or neck deep into the legislation side, and at that point we couldn't really see. Not we didn't want to see. It's just at that point we weren't really coming together, going, hang on a minute, what they're saying is this, that, and the other. But as soon as we got our issues sorted and we all met up at Oxford, that's when it all changed. That's the moment it all changed.
Yeah.
Was when, right, now we see the clout you've got, and that's when we go with a foot in each camp. That's how we've done it ever since. And we've been, as I say, it was a 2-letter process it started with. Then we refined to the point where one of the guys we were helping, we sent the first letter out expecting the usual guff and the second letter to have to go out. No, done in one. And that, at that point, that was a lot of helpful language input and how we were writing from Brother Andy Dobsmith. So yeah, it was weird how it sort of, and now say it went 3 pages, 2 pages, 2-letter process. Now it's down to 2 questions, and they're giving us the right answer on the first question to actually the second one. The second one's there is just to fuck them up if they're cheeky with the first one. Excuse my French. The second one's the killer. At the moment, they're just going, no, it's not mandatory. So the first one's winning. That's it. Not mandatory. That's it. End of story. You're not qualified to stop my money. You're not qualified to assess me. You're not even qualified to look at my medical. So just leave my money alone. I've already got it. That's it. Leave my money alone. You're not qualified to do anything about it. And that is a fact. Not mandatory that I come to an idiot. Job done.
Hard work and
so there you have it.
diligence.
Go for it.
Thank you, brother. Yes, to all present and past. Helpers and workers, admins and ones. It's not one man's journey, it's a collection of family. It's not any man to claim. We've all had an equal part to play. And thank you for saying that. The triangle we come from, where Serge found Kenneth, Kenneth as king, and Serge of the family Sing and King came together and brought Richard and the triangle, and we went through the window like in Play Days or whatever it was, Rainbow, And yeah, we went through the trustee, set law, beneficiary, and I was like, these is all of the things that common law alleges to give us, but doesn't, and is failing the Constitution, the Magna Carta, etc. And then we found hidden within the CPR, the Civil Procedural Rules, in the Green Book and the court system, that there is an outlay, and we found the English and Wales laws against the corporative rules, and we found that we were being governed by rules of law, and we either have rules or we have law. We do not have, as Anna von Reitz keeps putting down, a rule of law. No, it's a rule or it's law. So we separate that, we separate the instrument, we separate the all caps legal corpse, we separate the lowercase natural person, the legal person, and the natural person are to one side, and the flesh and blood man is to the other. And we had a bit of biblical text from Smithy, and yeah, we are not together. The bond's been broken there for various reasons, and I don't think it's going to be rebuilt, and we've got our own paths to go on, and all is well, and all is good. So we're going to end and say thank you to all for everything you've done, and we show love and respect to everybody past and present, and we'll meet back tomorrow. And it has been an adventure, yes indeed, and it's continuing on, and we're getting to the end. This year, for want of a better, is going to be the last year for many things, as you can see. Big year, and it's not finished yet. It's not at all.
No, definitely not. But peace and love to everybody. Really appreciate it. Glad you're listening. Pass it on. We'll help as many people as you can. That's the facts now. That's the facts. And from the horse's mouth, we're not making it up. We've had it direct from the principal and the agents. That's a fact. So, as I say, at the moment, 5 people. If it wasn't for COVID, I'm sure we'd have an awful lot more. But I'm sure once this nonsense is over, you'll see it. You just start using it, you'll see it. Oh, game over. Mandatory? No.
Cast over. Goodbye. Yeah, man. Much love. Ciao, everybody. Let's go. Thank you.
Good luck. See you soon.